Today we are starting Topic 2, Lesson 2, The First Empires. Please open your digital notebook, and if you want to open the e-text, you can, or you can open this video and follow along that way. Let's look at your digital notebook. There are 11 pages. You can see as I'm scrolling through, there are 5 highlighted in yellow, the questions, and you know that those are then quiz questions. Let's go ahead and start right off with a quiz question.
Lesson 2. The First Empires. As the independent city-states of Sumer grew in size, power, and wealth, they became rivals. They each wanted to gain control over more resources. As a result, they often came into conflict. For hundreds of years, the city-states fought among themselves. In time, strong rulers conquered the whole region, creating the world's first empires. An empire is a state containing several countries or territories.
All right, number 1. A state containing several countries or territories is called what? You will find that answer in this circled yellow paragraph. Let's watch our lesson video.
Have you ever heard the saying, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth? You may think it comes from the Torah, Christian Bible, or Quran. Actually, it was recorded much earlier in the Code of Hammurabi. Hammurabi is the best-known Babylonian king. He came to power around 1792 BCE and ruled for 30 years. He knew that the Babylonian Empire was formed through the conquest of many different peoples, and he saw the need to establish a system, or code, of law to help unify the empire. His intent was to ensure justice throughout his empire, protect the weak from the strong, and further the well-being of mankind. Hammurabi's code was meant to define how society was organized within the empire and strengthen the power of the king. A code of law is much more than just a collection of a few rules. A code is a system of many laws, covering everything from crime and punishment to the ownership and sale of property. Laws dealing with crimes and punishment are called criminal laws. All other laws are called civil laws. Hammurabi's code consisted of 282 laws, 41 criminal, and 241 civil. The code assembled all the laws of the land in one place and displayed them to the public. In fact, archaeologists uncovered an upright slab of stone called the stele, with the laws carved into its surface. The stele was 7 feet tall, 2 feet wide, and held 4,000 lines of text. Some of these laws are considered very harsh and even barbaric today, but they also were not always as simple as they might first appear. For instance, let's look at the law that inspired the saying, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. The law stated, if a man has destroyed the eye of a man of the gentleman class, they shall destroy his eye. If he has destroyed the eye of a commoner, he shall pay 1 mina of silver. If he has destroyed the eye of a gentleman's slave, he shall pay half the slave's price. Do you see how Hammurabi used his code not only to establish laws, but also to define the way Babylonian society was organized? The degree of punishment changed according to the economic level of the man upon whom the crime was committed. Laws were applied differently to women, men, free people, and slaves. The code affected class structure by setting minimum wages for different workers and field laborers and herdsmen to ox drivers, sailors, and doctors. Why do you think Hammurabi's code helped to unify Babylonia?
All right, let's go ahead and continue on. On page 2 of our digital notebook, we have our 5 vocab words. You have empire, state containing several countries or territories. Ally, independent state that works with other states to achieve a shared military or political goal. Cultural trait, idea or way of doing things that is common in a certain culture. Hammurabi's Code, a set of laws that governed life in the Babylonian Empire. And rule of law, idea that all members of a society, even the rich and powerful, must obey the law. Go ahead and take 5 minutes and get these words defined in your digital notebook. All right, let's move on to the next page in our e-text. We're moving on to page 3 in our digital notebook.
The conquest of Sumer. As Sumerian kings struggled for power, fighting between city-states was common. Years of frequent fighting made Sumerian city-states grow weaker. This eventually led to the conquest of Sumer. Conflict among city-states. The fighting between the city-states of Umma and Lagash is one example of the widespread conflict in Sumer. For many years, Umma and Lagash and their allies fought to control a fertile region on their shared border. An ally is an independent state that works with other states to achieve a shared military or political goal. Around 2450 BCE, armies from Umma and Lagash met in a major battle. Soldiers used bronze axes and long spears with sharp metal points. Thousands of troops died in the fighting before Lagash won the battle. To celebrate their victory, Lagash soldiers looted and burned Umma. They captured prisoners from Umma to be sold as slaves. It took years for Umma to recover from the defeat. Around 2375 BCE, a powerful king of Umma finally defeated Lagash and several other Sumerian city-states. His rule soon came to an end, however.
Number 1 on page 3 of your digital notebook. Identify the cause and effect of the conflict between Umma and Lagash. What caused the war and what happened because of the war? Take a minute and get that answer. This is a sculpture of Sargon. We will learn who Sargon is in the upcoming reading.
How did Sargon build an empire? While the Sumerian city-states struggled for power, a new society arose in Mesopotamia. The Acadian people lived to the northwest of Sumer, but they were not related to Sumerians. Acadians spoke a different language and had different customs. During the 2300s BCE, an Acadian man named Sargon became king of the Sumerian city-state of Kish. He changed the language used by the government to Acadian. Under Sargon's rule, the Acadian army conquered other Mesopotamian city-states. He placed loyal Acadians in important government and religious positions. For example, he chose his daughter to be a high priestess in the city-state of These moves helped him solidify his power. Then, Sargon united much of Mesopotamia under his rule, creating the world's first empire, which is called the Acadian Empire.
Number 1 on page 4 of your digital notebook. Sargon created the world's first empire by doing what? You will find that answer in this circled yellow text. Number 2, how was Sargon able to rule such a vast empire? You will find that answer in this green highlighted text. Let's move on to page 5.
Acadian culture. The Acadians and Sumerians shared some cultural traits. A cultural trait is an idea or way of doing things that is common in a certain culture. For example, the Acadians and Sumerians had similar religious practices, and both societies used the cuneiform system of writing. As Sargon's troops moved throughout the Fertile Crescent, they brought their cultural traits with them. Furthermore, Acadians began to trade with people as far away as the Indus Valley in modern-day Pakistan. While the Fertile Crescent provided abundant crops, It had few trees and did not provide any minerals. Trading to the east and west, Acadians obtained wood, copper, silver, and precious stones like red carnelian and blue lapis lazuli. Through trade, Acadian and Sumerian culture spread to other regions and was adopted by other peoples.
Number 1, what two cultural traits did the Acadians and Sumerians have in common? You'll find that answer in this pink highlighted paragraph. Let's move on to page 6.
How did the Acadian Empire end? To control such a large empire, Sargon appointed local rulers. Each local ruler served as king of the land he oversaw. Sargon was able to control the Acadian Empire for more than 50 years. After Sargon's death in 2279 BCE, the Acadian Empire faced a growing number of rebellions and invasions. Within 100 years, the empire had collapsed. Warriors from the Zagros Mountains, east of the Tigris River, eventually took control of the region. Around 2100 BCE, Sumer was united again, this time by Ur-Nammu, the ruler of Ur. Ur-Nammu issued the world's first known law code. Ur prospered for about 100 years under Ur-Nammu and later rulers. Then, an uprising of rebels from the east managed to destroy Ur and capture its ruler. This ended Ur's rule over Sumer. Once again, the Sumerian city-states fought over power.
Number 1, what is another reason, so this is kind of the same question as page 4, number 2, that Sargon was able to rule such a large empire? You'll find that answer again in this blue highlighted paragraph. Number 2, within how many years after Sargon's death did the Acadian Empire collapse, meaning end? You'll find that answer in this green highlighted paragraph. Let's continue on to page 7. We'll turn the page in our e-text. We're going to skip this interactive chart. So if you are working in the e-text, you can go ahead and hit next again.
The Babylonian Empire. After the destruction of Ur, many groups invaded Sumer. One of them, the Amorites, came from northern Mesopotamia. The Amorites took control of several Sumerian cities, including Babylon. At the time, Babylon was a small, unimportant city on the Euphrates River near present-day Baghdad, Iraq. But under a king named Hammurabi, Babylon became the center of a new Mesopotamian empire. The empire forms. Around 1792 BCE, Hammurabi became king of Babylon. For 30 years, he solidified his power and built up his army. Then, he launched a series of attacks against other Mesopotamian city-states. Within a few years, he had united southern Mesopotamia into what we now call the Old Babylonian Empire, which is also called Babylonia. Hammurabi was an excellent military leader, and he was also a skilled ruler. Like Sargon, after Hammurabi built his empire, he had to create a government strong enough to hold it together. He sent his own governors, tax collectors, and judges to rule distant cities. He spread out his well-trained troops over the empire. Hammurabi also oversaw a number of public building projects and encouraged the growth of trade with other lands.
Number 1 on page 7. How was Hammurabi's method of ruling similar to Sargon's? You'll find that answer in this pink highlighted paragraph. Let's move on to page 8 in our digital notebook.
The significance of Hammurabi's code. Today, Hammurabi is best remembered for his creation of Hammurabi's Code, a set of laws that governed life in the Babylonian Empire. Many of these laws had existed since Sumerian times, but Hammurabi wanted to make sure everyone in Babylonia knew the laws they were expected to live by. In the introduction to his code, Hammurabi wrote that he wanted to primary source, bring about the rule of righteousness in the land, to destroy the wicked and the evildoers, so that the strong should not harm the weak, so that I should further the well-being of mankind. Hammurabi's Code.
Number 1 on page 8 of your digital notebook. Notice this is yellow. The main purpose of Hammurabi's Code was to do what? You will find that answer in this circled yellow text. Number 2, looking at this primary source, how do you think Hammurabi's Code helped to further the well-being of mankind? This is your opinion. And you will find, you can read that primary source in this green right here and then infer how you think Hammurabi's Code helped to further the well-being of mankind. Let's move on to page 9.
Hammurabi's Code includes nearly 300 laws. Some laws have to do with crimes such as robbery and murder. The code states specific punishments for these crimes. For example, one law reads, "If a man put out the eye of another man, his eye shall be put out." Although such punishments may sound cruel by modern standards, they did encourage social order. Other laws in Hammurabi's Code dealt with private matters, such as business contracts, taxes, marriage, and divorce. Many of these laws treated various groups of people differently. For example, the penalty for harming someone of the same rank in society was greater than the penalty for harming someone of lower rank, such as an enslaved person. Hammurabi's Code was more detailed than Ur-Nammu's law code. In fact, it was the first major attempt to organize and write down all the laws that governed a society. It established the rule of law, or the idea that all members of a society must obey the law. This idea is a key part of modern democratic principles.
Number 3, how many laws were included in Hammurabi's Code? You will find that answer in this pink highlighted paragraph. Number 4, the rule of law established under Hammurabi was the idea that what? You'll find that answer in this yellow circled paragraph, and we know it is a quiz question. Let's move on to page 10. Before we continue to listen, I wanted to look at the purpose and effects of Hammurabi's Code here. We have the statue where they carved the codes, the laws into. There's 4,000 lines of text. The purpose is it established laws for the entire empire. The laws were made public for all to understand and obey. The code created unity in the Babylonian Empire. It strengthened social hierarchies, and it reinforced the power of the king who claimed the laws were handed down to him by the gods. 282 laws, 41 were criminal laws, meaning that would be if you disobeyed a law, and then some were civil laws, which included slavery, debts, hired laborers, real estate, family issues. So let's continue on listening to the lesson.
Life in the Babylonian Empire. Hammurabi's Code and other Babylonian writings give historians a great deal of information about life in Babylonia. People's lives changed when states and empires took over. There were greater social differences. Now there were kings, priests, and government officials. But still, most people were very poor. They were farmers, artisans, or slaves. Many people's lives revolved around agriculture. Food had to be grown and distributed. Irrigation canals had to be kept clear of silt. Wool had to be collected and woven into textiles or cloth. In the cities, some people used new technologies to make tools, weapons, pottery, perfumes, and medicines. Babylonian artists were known for their stone and bronze sculptures. They also used gold and precious stones to make jewelry. All the goods were traded within the empire and with other lands.
Number 1, notice this is a quiz question. The largest group of people in the Babylonian Empire included what social classes? List all 3. So in this yellow circled text, you will find the largest social class and tell me what 3 types of people are listed. Number 2, technologies were used to make what? There's 7 things listed. Give me 3 of them. In this green highlighted text, you will find the 7. I just need you to list 3 things.
Legacy of Sumer. Sumerian culture stayed alive in Babylonia, just as it had in the Acadian Empire under Sargon. But Hammurabi's empire eventually collapsed after his death in 1750 BCE. In the years that followed, the once great civilization of Sumer slowly faded away. Sumer's influence, however, did not disappear. The many peoples who had come into contact with Sumerian civilization adopted ideas and customs from it. In this way, Sumerian advances lived on.
Page 11, number 1. When did Hammurabi's empire collapse? In this pink highlighted paragraph, you will find that answer.